Hi everybody, it's Doreen, and I'm back today with a real quick and simple birthday card that I made for my husband's nephew. So come on and join me, and I'm going to show you how I made this card. Okay everybody, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the supplies so we can get started making the card. So my card measures 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and I've taken it and scored it in half to make it a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. And this card stock that the card is made out of is some of that card stock that I bought from Joann's, and I'm sorry for the glare, but it's their linen textured brand. And I believe I had said once before in one of my previous videos that I didn't know if I was going to keep it because it doesn't cut very well on the Cricut, but it works fine for making my cards. So I'm going to go ahead and keep all that I bought, and that's what I've used for this card. The other thing that I've gone ahead and done is I've gone ahead and run the card through my Cuttlebug folder, and this is the Happy Birthday folder. And then I also went ahead and inked my edges using the Tim Holtz Distress ink, and this time I've used the tea dye. So now I want to go ahead and lay my layers on the card, and what I've done is I've gone ahead and cut out this wave or curve, and I got this from the Everyday Paperdoll cartridge, and it is on page 77, and it looks like this, and they're actually calling it a border. And what I've done is I went ahead and cut out the blackout. So now if you're using your Gypsy, that would be key number 50, and it looks like this. So what I ended up doing was I initially cut this out at the height to be 2 1/4 inches for one layer and the width to be 8, which is this one right here. And then I went back and I also cut another one, and that one I cut at 1 1/4 inches or 1.5 inches by 8. And the reason why I cut it so big is because I initially was going to make my card be a 5.5 by 8 inch card. And when I cut that out, I decided that that was kind of big and I didn't really want it that big. So I just went ahead and cut my wave or border. I just cut it down to be the length of the card. So now, this card stock I got from Joann's, and it's by, no, I got this from Michael's, I'm sorry, and it's by TPC Studio. It looks like this on one side, and then it looks like this on the other side, and it's basically, it looks like little paper clips. And I wanted to get this because my husband's nephew is a teacher, and I just wanted to put just a little something to represent a teacher on the card. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and line this up, because what I want to do is just have a faint piece of the one layer showing. So I'm going to line that up, and I'm just going to lay that down. And also, this cuts on a curved edge on this side as well. So I left that one on, but then on the top layer, I just cut that off and made it even. So I took about 1/8 of an inch off, just so I could make it even to be flush with the card. So now, I want to go ahead and lay that down, and then I'm going to put this layer on top. And then what I'm going to do is just hold this for right now, because I'm going to go ahead and put my tape. And I'm going to use the Tombow adhesive and just put a layer of tape along here so that I can lay my top layer down on top of there. And I'm not going to adhere it to the card just yet because I first want to get this layer on. And I want to have maybe like a 1/4 of an inch. So let's see if we can get this straight. I want to have like a 1/4 of an inch on the edge of the card. But I still want that bottom layer there to show through. So I think that's about where I'm going to line it up. And I also want to try to get, let me pull this up. I want to try to get the edges even. So we'll lay this down one more time. And there. So now I have it lined up the way I want it. And I'm just going to pull that up and make sure that I have that laid down. So now we can go ahead and we can add this to the actual card. So let's get out the ATG gun for this. And I'm just going to run along here and make sure I get all of my edges. And then what I'll do is I'll use my adhesive remover tool if I have to get up any tape that got on the edge. So now we can go ahead and lay it back down, and I want it to be flush at the bottom and flush at the top, but I want, just like I said, that 1/4 of an inch along here, along the edge of the card. So now that I have that, what I'm going to do is, because I do know I have a little bit of the overlay here, I'm going to go ahead and take my X-Acto knife and we're just going to snip that off real quick. Like so. And I got to make sure I get both layers. So there. So now we have our bottom and top layer laid down. So now let's go ahead and we're going to put the cupcake on. Now the cupcake I stamped out from this stamp set that's by, let's see, Hampton Art. And I'm sorry for the glare again, but it looks like this. And it's the Hampton Art cling set, and I got this at Michael's. So I went ahead and stamped it out, and I stamped it out using my Tim Holtz Distress ink, and I used the Faded Jean to stamp the cupcake. And then I took my Yasutomo watercolor paints, and those look like this. And my water brush, and I went ahead and faintly colored in the cupcake wrapper. Now for the puffy, to make it look like icing, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but I used my liquid applique pen, and it looks like this. And I went ahead and put that on, and then I heat set it so that it would puff up. And then once it puffed up, I then took the Yasutomo watercolor paints and my water brush again, and I just made little dots throughout the top, the frosting or the liquid applique, to make it look like the cupcake has sprinkles on it. So that's what it looks like. And then I went ahead and I used my Sizzix or my Spellbinders die, and I used the oval shape. This is the classic oval, this size, and went ahead and cut that out. And then I took the tea dye and inked the edges again along here. So now I've got this popped up on some foam tape. So let's go ahead and remove the backing from the foam tape, and we're going to add this to the card. Okay, everybody, so now that we've got the backing off the foam tape, I'm going to lay my cupcake right there. And then the last thing I want to go ahead and do for the front of the card is I'm going to go ahead and I've also stamped out the Happy Birthday to You. And that's also in that stamp set by Hampton Art. The stamp looks like this. And I just stamped it out using the Faded Jeans Distress ink again. And I've inked the edges with the tea dye. And I've also got this popped up on some foam dots. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing from the foam dots and we're going to add it to the card. Okay, so now let's go ahead and we're just going to add this to the card. And I think I'm going to put it right here in the corner. Okay, so now that the front of our card is done, the last thing I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and add my sentiment from the inside, or for the inside of the card. Now this time I didn't use my computer software to do the inside of my card. I'm actually going to go ahead and stamp out my sentiment. And the sentiment is from the Fisker's Make-A-Wish quotes. And the set looks like this. And here's the actual sayings that are on each of the stamps. So the one that I've chosen to use is, birthdays are nature's way of telling us to eat more cake. So I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball where I want it. And I'm going to use the Faded Jeans to stamp this out. So let's go ahead and ink up our stamp. And the other thing that I want to do is I want to give myself a little padding for the clear stamps. I usually try to use this, let's see, Fun Foam square whenever I'm using my clear block stamps, just so I can get a little cushion underneath. So now that I've got my stamp all inked up, I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm going to place it right in the middle of the card and stamp down. And there you have it. So there's the inside sentiment for the card. So now my card is complete. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.